Hello guys, welcome to a new video and well, what a week we've had. Obviously, Trump ended up winning the election, which has been pretty favorable for crypto so far, and no doubt it was the better option of the two looking at the crypto coins. So with that, price has broken above the previous all-time high, so we're back into price discovery. Currently, we'll note it's a Sunday and we did move up quite a bit. So who knows? We'll have a CME gap if we open up like this tomorrow. But what I also said in a tweet just yesterday, so on Friday, is or Saturday, sorry, is the fact that once we're in price discovery, we do open up with gaps quite a lot, and we often just leave them behind. So the CME strategy gap thing, which I always talk about, I wouldn't value it that much anymore. Yes, you can look at it. Maybe let's say you get a retracement early next week, and then you can look at the gap for potential bounce zone, for example. But I would not have the same confidence in these gaps always closing during the weekend or after the weekend itself, because in price discovery, BTC does what it does best, and it just keeps trending. Doesn't matter if it's weekend, if it's during the week, just it keeps going, and it will leave people waiting for dips to happen, which never come. They'll be sidelined, or they keep on shorting, whatever. Just don't assume every gap or every little thing will get retested, because it simply doesn't. Best is just sit in your spot backs, ride the wave, and start selling when things get really euphoric and funding rates skyrocket, things go up vertically. But for me personally, we've been consolidating here for 8 months. We're only now a few percent above the previous all-time high. And just as long of a consolidation, I'd want to look for close to at least six figures to consider taking out profits. Depending on how the market looks, of course. Like, I'm not stuck to like a certain price threshold or whatever I'm looking for. Let's say we go up to, I'm just gonna assume like 100K next week. Sure, I'll probably shave some profits off, because that's a really big move in a really short time. But as long as we just keep trending, we get some good leverage flushes along the way. Let's say we keep moving like this. That's very sustainable, as you're just not going up, straight up. And in moves like these, it's much better to just hold on and ride the trend, I'd say, versus when it just goes like this, and you get these kind of moves in between. That can happen as well, but it's interesting. It's very explosive, but I'd rather just have it rather slowly and just trend up along the way. So with that being said, let's move on, because we got quite a few charts up here, as you can see. So here, just gonna keep this on here as this thing was drawn out like somewhere early in the year. So I'm just gonna keep it here for the sake of it, to see if it's gonna be remotely close. Not gonna pay attention to it every time. So the total 2 market cap, which is everything excluding BTC, has now also broken out. It's still quite far away from the yearly highs, so that only means altcoins have a lot of catching up to do. But you can see here, just the past week, coming from this point, up like 27% across the entire market. That's also including ETH, etc. So that's quite a large move, and you can see just how quick these things can move, because it had been consolidating here for like 3 months, and then in like a week, boom, you retrace everything and more. So that's kind of how it usually goes with alts, and you also usually don't get a lot of weeks like these. So when it does, it's usually very explosive. And then of course ETH, finally it did it. So it outperformed BTC by quite a lot the past week. We did break above this 2.8k level, which was important to me. It was the range low from this entire chop earlier this year. We also broke above the day 200 EMA and MA. And yeah, I mean, for now, I would be looking at some point for like a higher low to be made. Let's say we do retest the day 200 MA, which would be nice, I think, for to make a nice base. And then from there on out, you just want to start looking for all these levels to get taken out along the way. But yeah, I mean, this looks pretty good. Like, even if we go all the way down here, I think that would still be perfectly fine. Because, of course, like, these aren't candles I would be buying into personally. Like 37% in less than a week. It's quite large. So at some point you would expect some kind of dip or leverage flush or whatever. It can be very quick. It can be like a day and then down, who knows, like 5, 8% or whatever, and then straight back up. That's usually how it does tend to go when you're like in full on price discovery, but ETH isn't in price discovery just yet. Still got quite a long way to go. But yeah, this is roughly what I would be looking for. But I mean, this trend has definitely changed from watching from this point since the August dump. Now it's just key where we'll make a higher low, which should be no issue at all. And then from there on out, you just want to keep trending up. And with that, Bitcoin dominance, of course, went down quite a lot, where we basically rejected from this after filling this inefficiency. Still, of course, this is way, 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 way up. If ETH keeps outperforming, of course, then this should keep trending down, which should help alts also. And especially, I think the ETH related alts and DeFi, which I have been on about. Like I've been saying, DeFi would be the main one of the main sectors that benefits from a Trump win, because you get better regulatory clarity and just better regulations, and probably have Gary Gensler out, all things like that, that should just help innovation and especially in the US. But DeFi should be one of the main things that benefits from that. And we've also seen, we'll get into it in a bit, but some of these DeFi coins indeed making large moves. EBTC, well, I mean, it retested the 2016 highs, went quite far. Like earlier this year, I was expecting this to hold somewhere around like 0.045 and 0.05. Of course, it didn't. We do now have a very large reversal here from this point, of course, on the back of ETH outperforming. But to really get going and get like a higher time frame trend shift, I would want to see this back above like, let's say 0.05. At that point, I'd be confident that we could go back into this region, but this is pretty key for now, because I mean, this trend has been down. Maybe we'll retest here and then reject again, something like this. I don't think it's just going to go straight up, even though in the past it has done this. But for now, also looking at the ETF inflows, etc., it does seem like BTC is still the main thing investors are looking for, also from the traditional finance space. So as long as that's the case, I think ETH can go on these little spurs of outperformance, especially now post this Trump win. We'll just have to see where this potentially gets to. But I do want to see this break the trend at some point to really go for these much higher targets. Solana, also very nice breakout. We've been watching this level and this diagonal resistance. For now, pretty clear that this is back on the uptrend. But yeah, I mean, still yet to break its local highs, or like yearly highs, I'd say. But from there on out, like once you properly clear this yearly high from earlier this year, it should be pretty easy to go for this all-time high. Like it's really not that far off at this point. It's just like, what is it, 26%? That's nothing. It's gonna get there, especially when BTC just keeps trending up. This is basically the last line of defense until it should get there. Dogecoin, I mean, this thing has been amazing. It did break its yearly highs just now, earlier, or like a few hours ago. Yeah, I mean, this, of course, we have Elon, which has been heavily supportive of Trump and just basically part of the entire movement. Elon likes to shield Doge. He probably holds some, I think people are assuming. I'm not sure if he actually confirmed it at some point. Dogecoin has underperformed a lot of meme coins throughout the past year. Although it has done okay-ish, but I mean, it's not done nearly the numbers some of these other meme coins have done. So I think, like, if there's some more, like, the more serious investors, maybe the traditional finance guys, and then they're looking at meme coins, they're not gonna buy all these on-chain things. Like, if there's some capital that moves into meme coins. Like as their first meme coin is Dogecoin most likely, and just makes a lot of sense. The art looks pretty good, of course. I mean, also here be a bit cautious because this thing has just rallied like 70% in 2 weeks. I personally just hold some spot on this, and I'm not touching it at all. Like just letting this do its thing. Uh, Trading it can be fine, sure, but also here I would just wait for these leverage flushes or whatever, then get in wide invalidation and then just let it ride. But spot definitely the easiest, especially when coins move like this. But I mean, I'm not disliking the chart, uh, but at this point, like, yeah, I mean, what can I say? This is not something I would enter in, but it's also not where I'd consider selling my spot just yet. I do think we'll eventually head for these 34, 35 cents highs up here. I think that makes sense. Whether this gets all the way back up to its all-time highs this cycle, I'm not sure. Like it's a 3x from here. It's a bit of a far fetch because the situation here or the environment was so insane with Elon shilling it all day. It was one of the only meme coins. I mean, we had Doge and Sheep and some other things, of course, but there weren't as many as now, so it's pretty saturated at this point with a lot of liquidity spread out. Sure, if like Bitcoin goes to 200k this cycle, then I'm sure we'll head here as well. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. For now, happy in my spot deck. Fetch looks pretty decent, but just needs to break mainly this level, I'd say 175-ish with the local highs here from September. AI coins have been doing okay. They've not been that strong yet, but that makes a lot of sense because now ETH is running, ETH coins are running. There's just like a lot more things that are doing well instead of just AI and meme coins. So I also think the better ETH does and the better these ETH coins do that have been in like a downtrend for the past 4 years, the more things like or the previous narratives will struggle. So in this case, AI coins and maybe memes, although I think memes will just keep doing well for the time being. Having said that, I do own some fetch. Like it's my AI exposure. It's just one of the big ones with like not that many unlocks or like none. I'm not sure how it is exactly, but I think most of it is unlocked. So just having this as my AI exposure in my portfolio. Then we have Eigen, which has retaken this range low here and also trading above the daily 200 MA and EMA. So this is a nice reversal of the trend with like a major deviation down here, if you can call it that at this point. So at some point, like especially if ETH keeps doing well, I would start looking for these highs to get taken out. And I think this is shaping up pretty nicely. I think as long as ETH keeps doing well, and especially if ETH BTC keeps going up, this should keep trending up. Same here, I hold some spot in this. I'm not trading it at this point, so just letting this ride. I did buy my spot like somewhere around these range lows, so at some point I was pretty underwater, but you can see like just takes 1 week to get back. I do generally think like Eigen is pretty pricey in terms of fully diluted valuation. It's like 6 billion or whatever. But the actual market cap is really low and it takes like another year for the unlocks to start happening. So seeing how hyped this was at the start of the year was like 3-4 times the fully diluted valuation, which it was priced at as it is now. And yeah, I mean, it just launched during shitty conditions during ETH, which was extremely low. So I do think this will catch up somewhere over the year, especially if ETH keeps doing well. So that's what I'm kind of holding this for. Lido, same kind of story, of course, very heavily ETH related. Has tested its all-time lows, just like last week, mainly, nearly. Pretty interesting chart, I'd say. Do want to see this break back above this green zone and the daily 200 MA, EMA. This is also one of the coins that has had Wells notice or like the SEC coming after him. So that's what caused, I think, where was that? I think that was somewhere in here. I think that's this candle. Pretty sure it was this 20% candle down. Yeah, so since then, of course, it went down only. But we can assume when Trump takes office, all these cases will get dropped. And with a better regulatory environment, I also think these things, same with like Uniswap, etc., they're more likely to introduce this fee switch, which will generate revenue for the token holders. And at that point, these won't just be useless governance tokens, but they will actually generate yield for the holders. Yet to be seen if they actually go through with it. But if there's any time they could, it's probably post this Trump win. Probably gonna take a while though, but I mean that's mainly the reason why these things have shot up this much, like 40-50%, especially on the day of the win itself. Just 40% is quite insane. So definitely good one to watch, but I would want to see this level flipped. Uniswap, same thing. I mean, how much it is to 30%. We were looking for this actually on the back of this Trump win. I do hold some spot in this. It's not giant, but I do think they will at some point introduce a fee switch. And the key for, or the catalyst for them to do so was probably post this Trump win and post Gary Gensler being fired. So let's see. Because Uniswap is still just a beast. They're like top 5 in revenue generation in terms of protocols. They're just always on top in the DEX market, and this company or like the protocol generates so much money, and the token holders are not seeing any of it. So even if just a fraction of that will be shared with like Unistakers, for example, that would mean a lot. And I think this token should reprice to like, let's say $20 pretty rapidly afterwards, depending on how much they end up sharing, of course, and if they do it at all, because nothing is confirmed. But there have been some hints in the past, but yeah, I mean, let's wait and see. For now, I mean, chart doesn't look that bad. It's still pretty much nearly at the lows. Just need to keep this trend going, and higher highs, higher lows. That's all you need to look for. Aave is at new yearly highs. This thing has been one of the strongest DeFi protocols, if not the strongest. I mean, so far this just looks pretty solid. I'm just going with the trend here. It's consolidated down here for like 2.5, 3 years. It broke out, had some trouble first few times, but for now, I'd say just looking for something like this, and eventually to take out this level at least. 260-ish, and let's see how high this can go. I mean, last cycle it did go to 670, which is still like over 3x from here. I'm not sure. I think it's doable, but we'll have to wait and see. Tom, we were talking about this, that it was sitting right at support, but depending on a Trump win or lose, like if he would lose, we'd probably get something like this, was my opinion. Or if he'd win, of course, the support was likely to hold, and that's what happened. So, I mean, so far, I mean, the chart wasn't lying at all. We were at support held, and now we get a nice reaction from this bottom. I do feel like the ton hype has kind of died down compared to earlier. Pretty sure it can come back. It's still the best place for all these ton mini apps and for all these mega 20 million user applications to come out of, because it's just really easy to onboard people from their phones, from their Telegram app. I think the metrics will explode again at some point, and people will probably flock back into this ecosystem. For now, I'm not too much of a fan for the time being, but I mean, pretty sure this will just keep trending along and at some point break this red zone and head to double digits. But I mean, it's of course pretty large already, so you can't expect like a 10x on this at all. I don't think that's realistic. It's at like 20 billion FTV, I think, from the top of my head. So I mean, sure, I think it will do numbers, but you can't expect too much on this in the long run. Then a coin I've been keeping my eye on, Rose, which has also been involved in the AI space, but I was mostly interested in this breaking back above this daily 200 MA EMA and roughly this range area here between like 8 and 9 cents. This has been pretty pivotal throughout their entire history for the past few years, and you can see that every time it does break this area and retest it, you get like this huge move. And yes, it's like pretty volatile. It moves in these huge cycles. for the past 3-4 years. But for example, here you break this zone and you get like a 3x. Here, same thing, 4x, 5x. Like it's pretty insane. And then of course when it breaks down, you also get this huge move down. Like this area has been so pivotal throughout its history. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping it does pull one of these. Like even earlier this cycle, you get like a 2x move from this point every time. So that's an interesting one. So keeping my eye on this clear pool. I mean, this has been just great. Every week we open it up. I add like another high low, higher high, and it just keeps chugging along. Did take out? No, it didn't. It didn't quite take out this 26 cents level. So I mean, it's just better. I think the fact that it didn't take it out yet means more likely to go there. But I mean, at this point, the strength this has been going, I would not be surprised to at some point see like a massive expansion and then just head for these all-time, or sorry, not all-time highs. All-time highs are much higher, but for these cycle highs up here. Orderly, which is an interesting one. Of course, I invested in this back in the day. It basically went down to much lower throughout after the launch. They have been doing quite well in terms of their volumes recently, but I don't also think this is a main benefiter of the hyper liquid launch, which is coming up probably somewhere this month. I'm not sure, we don't have a set date yet. So of course this is like a perpetual DEX, or basically the backend, which all these perp DEXs run on. And Hyperliquid is, of course, one of the most hyped launches, or it is the most hyped launch at this point, which is coming up. And people can't really speculate on it that much yet. So I think if that one launches really high, people will just start comparing volumes, etc. And if they find Orderly is undervalued, for example, they'll just start buying into Orderly and vice versa. So I mean, this is like 15 times as small as Hyperliquid is expected to launch yet. So good one to keep your eyes on. I think the chart looks interesting. Of course, it just had like a massive run, but looking for like a higher low to be made, and then at some point this 20 cents level being broken, and from there on out you can just head into price discovery. And good move, nicely, I think. Just holding some of this personally as well. Then we have Cook. I tweeted about this back here on this range retake, which I thought it did, but ended up kind of going a bit lower again. But then at some point it did retake it again. And from there, I mean, this has just been on an insane rally. I was mainly targeting like these highs up here, which was already like a 50-60% move. But I mean, this has just been going. It's now at, what is it at? Let me check real quick, because of course the MATLAB or the Math governor, or the which is farmed in there, is at like 1.7 billion fully, or total value locked at this point. So that's quite a lot, and this thing was trading at like 20 million fully diluted valuation here, and Cook is the governance token of the MET protocol. What is it at? Like, 20 million market capital was there. It's at like 37 million market, 37 now. So that's decent, but still, I'd argue that it can go quite a bit higher. Looking at the total value locked, which is, of course isn't the main metric to go by, but if you compare it relatively to these other staking protocols and tokens, they're valued much higher. So I think once people found it out, that caused this massive surge up here. For me personally, I got some of this, and I get some of it through my Puff NFTs as well, just yielding over time. But besides it, just sticking it out, which is basically the main thing I'm just doing on a lot of these things. I'm trying not to spread my bets too thin, but I do hold some high conviction tokens. I'm not looking to actively trade in and out of them. I'll start selling when things get really, really crazy. But for now, I mean, just looking at BTC, we've consolidated or bled down. We've endured all this shit for 8 months. I'm not looking to take profit 6-7% above the previous all-time high. Like, doesn't make sense to me. everything is lining up. We're having rate cuts, liquidity injections. Trump presidency will definitely help compared to the alternative, or also compared to what we have right now. So with all that, of course, at some point things will get too overheated or things will get worse. But for now, I'm just waiting. Like, didn't wait all this time to start selling now. So for me personally, I'm just chilling here. Not putting on any leverage or anything. I might do that on like a bigger leverage flush, for example. But yeah, I mean, just spot and chill. You can't do much wrong when you do that. And that's basically it. Like, there's also no need to take a lot of risk when everything moves up like 5-10% a day. Even the bigger altcoins, like even ETH went up 5 or 10% a few days the past week. So there's no need to add on a lot of leverage when your spot holds, or even these major coins can already do that. So with that said, I'm gonna sign it off right here. I mean, it has been a good week. I hope we'll have many more like these. And I wish you all a good day or a good week ahead. Bye bye.